Good morning everybody and welcome into another video where today we're going to take a look at these three custom minifigures that we have designed for the Frostbite Charge and Ember sets from Tears of the Kingdom. You will have already seen the Charge set before in our minifigure constructs, and after I finished designing that one I got a bit of a bug and I decided that I was going to complete the set. Now unfortunately, as is always the case with custom minifigures, these guys are filled with compromises and problems. So today we're going to do a particularly negative video, as while I am particularly fan of these, I'm going to point out every single minor issue that maybe you didn't notice, or maybe you very much did. I'm looking at you with the design and the execution of this, and why I always keep decaled figures to a minimum when I'm doing my purists. And I've also got some familiar faces, probably our best executed stickered purist, the first stickered purist in the form of Girahim, and two other very old friends that we've seen for a while. But let's keep those guys out of the way for now and let's focus on our main trio here. We're going to start off with my favorite of the three. I don't know, Charge set is still up there, but it's my favorite of the armor sets. We have the Frostbite set, and this figure has fully custom decaled legs, hip, torso, both arms, torso front and back, and a custom face. The faces probably were not entirely necessary, but I did want to get the sort of face paint jewelry markings underneath, and then of course uses a normal crown, this time for the Frostbite sort of spiky bits that come out the front. I chose to use the existing hole rather than do what we did with Charged and do a custom one, because it is less noticeable on this one and it makes this version of Link look like a pretty princess. So I'm very happy with that. You will notice of course that I've given all three of them the elemental effects, specifically different sizes. These ones supposed to represent ice. They kind of look too much like benders or power users for me. However, I kind of like it too much not to do. Now let's get on to the actual details. The first problem you are going to notice here is particularly the sort of lack of posability, and that all comes down to the process we use with the water slide decals, as to ensure that they are on figures and they are a little bit more robust if we're taking them to conventions and such. It is a common occurrence for us to varnish spray them in. Now the arms can very much move, but I hope you heard that sort of fierce sort of cracking sound as we did so, because they are very stiff, because there is lots of sticky vinyl holding them in place. So unfortunately, the first big problem that we're going to notice is they're not posable, and specifically I dare never to move the legs on this fella, just because I did actually do the hip piece in blue there. And actually, that is something that there is no real issue on, except for issue number 2, the sand green printing does not continue onto the lower part of the hip like it does on the ceramics and upper. And I did that purely because I knew I'd just be irritated with the alignment, so I didn't do it. And issue number 3 is I didn't really plan to do the legs at all, so all of the prints are just a slightly bit different or lower quality, and they had to be redone. Whereas the torso is actually the original print from the figure that we drew, and it has just been modified since. Let's move on to issue 4, and that is of course the texture. You can see of course here the bit of shine, so if you catch from the wrong angle you cannot see any of the print. And issue number 6, it might not show up quite well, is that some of them are coated in fingerprints over some areas. You can see that difference in the shiny texture there, and that is because I stuck my finger in the varnish, because I'm incapable. If we want to go issue number 7, let's go back to the legs, and you can see that there is a little bit of an air gap just ever so slightly here on the leg where I didn't quite press it down properly, or it came up during the varnishing process, and that is just simply wonderful. Although I will say that I do really like how the legs print turned out, and of course this little swoosh down of the dark blue, and it's fun to have that dark blue continue around like we originally continued. Issue number 8, I'll jump back up to the head, and that is of course that the crest is in the wrong place. As I said, I don't really mind this one, but in theory it should be here and without the little nodule sticking out, but that's just not realistic, so we'll stick it in the top. And if I can go for a minor issue number 10, I don't love this hairpiece or the fact that it's rubbery, but we needed one with a hole in, so it is the best compromise as well. Issue number 9, the torso prints. I forgot to cut them to the correct size, so they're actually slightly too big. Therefore, you can see a slight scuffing in this corner here, and you'll notice that it peels around onto the side, which I actually don't mind, but you can see that there is a slight bit of a flick up, a bit of peel away, and there is also the chance that issue number 10, my vinyl coatings won't be secure enough to keep these stickers in long term, which is a bit of a problem. Now, the back piece. I could not do the Frostbite without the sort of infamous backless dress, so here we are. You can see that it is cut away. There is a full print under here. It seems to me that the head has gotten a little more sticky stuck as things have gone on, and you can see here underneath I'm using the backs of angry clone heads, although this print came out really smoothly, but again has the same issues where it sort of comes around the side, but here it worked out perfectly for us, so you can see all the line work there. I don't remember what issue we're up to, but I think it was issue number 10. And that is, of course, the color matching of the face print. I want to draw your attention to the fact that this was not an issue for the charge print. And as you might expect, I actually did reuse the print file on the charge set, just changing the mouth and not altering anything else. So I do not know why this print does not match the skin tone as well as it did on the charged face. Although, if we jump ahead to the charged face, I did fix issue number 11, which was an original issue, and that being the face print was too wide and was distorted for a minifigure face. And you can see there I actually used the mouth of the original figure underneath. But enough of him, and back to the Frostbite set for issue number 12, and that is the arm prints, where they do not come all the way around. Issue number 13 is that they are done in 2 sections because double convex surfaces are almost impossible to print on. Issue number 14 would be that the printing on the sort of triangles on the arms is really, really subtle. And issue number 15 is that actually, if I can get it to focus, you'll see that it's incredibly distorted because of how I chose to do the stickers. Issue number 16 is the color matching again, and issue number 17 is that this one specifically does not come up far enough around the front. And if I had to go for an issue number 18, the arms, you can see one of my least favorite points is I quite like how the top of the arms looks, but there is a slight problem with the color matching, and they look really, really like what's that word, textured, and they've also got wrinkles in them as well. So I have many problems with the arms of the Frostbite set. That being said, if you kind of blow your eyes and go back here, this looks amazing, and I just wish that face color was a better match, because if it was, I think this would be my favorite of the 3, and I think it looks really quite like the game. So despite all my issues and grumblings, I'm still really happy to have him in the collection, and it is only sort of really put into second place because of the existence of the charge set, which you guys have seen before. This is using the legs from the Ginny BC minifigure from Series 2 of the Harry Potter CMFs with the shoe printing removed, but otherwise I've kept them the same, which does present issue number 19, which is cut detail, where I removed a lot of the Zonai sort of markings in order just to use this existing print, because I would much rather use existing prints that are 90% of the way there than have to do custom ones. I actually really like how these arms turned out, although issue number whatever it was comes back again here for the fingerprint stuck in the varnish, and of course the arm print's not going round enough. And that is because issue number 19 was my laziness, and I didn't actually redo the arm prints, like I didn't do specific arm ones. I actually just cropped up a second copy of the torso, because I always print spares, and that allowed me to just reuse these front pieces on the sides and save some work. I actually really like the torso print. There is a slight difference of colour matching here, but issue number 20 for me is that this unicorn horn that I have had to sort of stab into the hairpiece. This was, I guess, an illegal and the least purest thing I've ever done to a minifigure, because I've created a hole in this rubber hairpiece for this unicorn attachment, but it is rather loose and it does keep coming out, so I really hope that that stays put long term. However, that being said, the charge set looks fabulous, and I really love how it complements the other 2. Now on to the problem child, starting off with issue number 20. Some of you may already have noticed, of course, that the hair colour is wrong. There were 2 suitable hair pieces for the horns for this. We have this one here from the Tiefling, which doesn't quite match, but I like the hairstyle on, and we'll explain why I've chosen to use this anyway, but it is in black. And then the second one is from the Golden Horn Demon from Monkey Kid, which is an incredibly expensive figure and actually does really long golden hair, which then still would not quite match the medium nougat of the other 2. So what I've chosen to do is Link has got his hair dyed, which is something you can actually do with this set at the Hateno dye shop. So from that perspective, it is how we're making this work. But of course, it is a big issue because it doesn't really make it look like Link. And then that face match color is horrific, even though it is finding the right proportions, which I'll give it a win for. Now this set suffers from a unique problem, and that being damage. When I put the varnish on, I actually did it so much that I couldn't even split the arm in, because I varnished the torso and the arm separately so that I get good coverage. And you can see that as I was trying to push the arm in, I absolutely destroyed this shoulder print. You can see there's a hole there, which is now white bordered, which is worse, and this back portion is also scuffed up. Luckily, you can just display it from this side and you wouldn't think you'd notice, because this arm's great. However, this side of the torso is actively flaking and hasn't been varnished properly. That being said, the oversized torso here did actually work in its favor, and while I didn't get the leg prints that I wanted, I was able to find something suitable on one of the figures I bought for the parts for this as well. So these are the Lady Thor legs from Thor Love and Thunder. However, it all works with the actual pretty amazing custom torso print. Now, they all sort of have their own unique thing that I like most about them. Of course, the hairpiece on charge and using the legs. It's the torso and legs combo here for fire, and then just the torso print on Ember with the arms. Like, this is my favorite set of arms, probably because they're on black. Like this right arm here looks great with the, well, again, distorted fire, but also with the arming here. Now, I did mention, of course, that I was actually going to talk to you about the design flaws rather than just the execution of my rather poor decal work. And that is what I mean, is it comes down to the design language that I've used, because I often say that I'm trying to match the design language of Lego, and that is just really, I guess, not the case, because a lot of my eyebrows and stuff still have outlines around them. My eyes don't fully match the styles because they're missing these slight offshoots that you get for the eyelashes and so on. The lines don't thin in the correct way, as you can see. I don't do the correct texture lines like you see under the chin here. My torso stylings are over detailed with too many small lines. And yeah, there's just very many problems with the design language. However, they don't look dreadful next to official figures, and they certainly do look all right next to my other custom ones. So these three are a great lineup. Now, where am I going to put them? Charge is going to stay obviously in the Minoru mech. Frostbite is going to go in the Storm and Dark. Ooh, spoiler, Storm and Dark's coming. You'll see that later this year, hopefully into 2027. And Ember does not have a place, so I guess he'll be fighting Marbled Goma for now. However, there really isn't a good location for this one. Am I going to keep the Power Blast? I honestly don't know, but I do love them as a trio, and they are some of my favorite outfits from the game, specifically Charge, Fire, Frostbite also, and Ember's just here because I had to complete the trio really. But yeah, I love that we were able to recreate these images from the CSS showcase and their custom sets in real life, and it was a complete challenge, because while I've been complaining all about decal work and why I have stayed away from it, it is really nice to be able to bring these figures into the real world, because there is no chance that we're ever going to see any of these outfits. I would be completely shocked if we ever do. And from that perspective, it is always fun to have a challenge like that in order to recreate them, just as we talked about with this version of the Princess Zelda that we did back when we did the Hyrule Castle Sanctum in September of 2025, which in itself is the upgraded version from the original one that we did, I believe, in 2019, which you can see has aged poorly. And this was back before I had white back decal paper, so any surface I was going to sticker with a dark color had to be Tipp-Exed under, which was a true delight. And you can see obviously this was yellow skinned and so on. So this was a huge upgrade over this. You can see actually the print work has improved. This is some of my favorite print work, because this actually gets a lot closer to the Lego style, and you can see I didn't have to do a face, which is where my stylings specifically differ the most from the Lego minifigures. Ignore the color matching. I'm really upset about the color matching. But yeah, of course, this one was done in 2019 to go alongside the first Link that we did here with the custom torso. Again, Tipp-Ex decal underneath. And again, this was before the times. So you can see the belt there. At one point there was actual printing on the hip piece as well, but you can see very quickly after doing these two in 2019, and the issues we'll talk about Girahim in a second, why I did not touch another sticker decal figure and only did flat surface decals for many years until the 2025 one of you, and I suppose Muktrock was also a curved surface on his head as well. And then it took me going with this figure to suit myself up to the Charge set, and notice again, we'll talk about in a second, why I did not do legs and hip. I just convinced myself to do arms, but again, specifically, I did one convex surface arms. I didn't go near the top where the triple convex is, and I didn't go past the arm elbow where there is also a convex surface. And then after that one went so well, and I knew I was going to have to do the other two, I did try and avoid doing the arms and the legs on these two here. However, I ended up finding new ways around them, and actually did tackle both the convex surfaces but also the legs, which we shall now talk about the figure that then put me off a lot of this stuff, and it is this Girahim here, which of course is incredibly inaccurate, but this is besides the point. This figure was also done in 2019, 2020. And it was the first time I did leg printing. And he has, I really can't tell if he has been varnished since, but he's stuck remarkably well. But there was definitely a point where the leg prints and stickers, and you can see some warping around the knee here, were just coming off. And I think I must have stuck them down with something over the top, maybe Pritt and maybe super glue. I don't think it would be super glue. I don't think I'm that vicious. But something along that lines. And what's funny to me also about this figure is that we're still waiting on the Karen hairpiece to actually use on this head here. But that original batch of stickers was sort of the next level, because it has stuck. But it was the trauma of doing these and the hip and so on. And I believe I did do one of the arms at the time, but that has since gone. And the hip on Mr. Link here as well. And seeing how fragile they were and how they couldn't stand up for play is what put me off doing these custom figures for so long. So in one way, I am glad that is over, because this is a fantastic trio of figures that I'm really glad to have, despite me listing about, 40 odd nitpicks I have with them. I'm still really grateful to have them. I'm going to keep them in good condition. I have no idea where I'm going to display Ember, or all of them, while the convention sets are not built, because Stormwind will not be here until October, November time. However, with all of that said, and with me making a fair bit of progress with the custom decal figures over the years, I don't think I'll be doing any more of these for a while. Maybe if someone else provides me with the decals or so on, I would love to do a Raru or a Soldier. I think I have some potential stuff in the works for that. But for a long time being, this is going to be the extent of our purist custom sticker decal modified figures, and I certainly won't be modifying hair pieces again, probably ever, if not for a very long time. Now, will there still be stickers? Yes, of course. This was part of a bigger sticker batch to get ready for Ozymandias and a couple of other side projects, and I just threw these guys in there because I had the fig bath parts. However, there's not going to be any stickers needed for a while, so I think we'll just stick to doing them when we need them, and we'll just go from there. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me to take a look at these. Let me know if it is Ember, Charged, or Frostbite that is your favorite, and what you guys would like to see happen with these figures in the future. Would you guys like access to the files? Is it scary? Is it impressive? Do they look bad? Please tell me all your thoughts down below, and I will see you again very, very soon. Bye-bye.